Welcome to the 2025 Psychosocial Safety Summit coming to you in March in Newcastle. We're doing things differently again this year by introducing you to the speakers and partners in the lead up to the summit. The reason why I'm doing this is because at so many events, the insights about the speakers get missed unless you happen to sit with them or meet with them afterwards. And I'm changing that by helping you connect with these incredible people before you arrive. Now, if you haven't got your tickets yet, don't wait. Jump on the link below to secure your spot. But today, I would love to introduce you to Patrizia Cassaniti. Thank you so much for being involved in the summit, Patricia. You are going to bring such a different and unique angle to it. So I'm super excited to listen to your talk.
No, thanks, Nicole, for having me. I'm very grateful that you thought of me to be part of your venture in this summit. So thank you.
Yeah. You are so welcome, and I'm really honored. But for people who may not have met you before, can you tell us a little bit about your background and experience?
Sure. In 2019, I probably experienced one of the worst things that any parent can possibly experience, and that is a loss of a child. To make it even worse, I lost my child in a workplace incident that should never have occurred. And that brought me pretty much and launched me into what I do now is going out to job sites and workplaces, do toolboxes, keynote speaking at conferences, and places where I can share my story about my son, to say what happened and what shouldn't have happened, and talk about complacency and pretty much give the workers the courage to be able to speak up, because unfortunately that's seems to be the biggest issue, complacency in speaking up.
Yeah, and your son was a young worker as
He
well,
was.
and he hadn't been on the site for very long either, did he?
He
Yeah.
had just he on the Wednesday before he died, he turned 18.
Hmm.
Had just bought himself a brand new car.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't brand new, but it was his car.
Yeah.
And Saturday we celebrated his birthday at home, and on Monday he went to work and never came home. His
Yeah.
whole life as an 18-year-old, or just his next chapter of his life, wasn't even experienced, all because of a complacent decision that was made that took him for life.
Yes, and you will share a little bit more about that in the summit. But young workers are often quite scared to speak up because they're brand new to the organization and they don't really know how. So you really help with that and share not only the importance but the how to do that as well. Is that right?
It true. The thing is, see, my son was in a situation where it wasn't up to him to speak up because
Yeah.
he was just forming up a planter box. He was there with his supervisor. They were working together. It was because of somebody else that made a decision, actually did speak up, but wasn't listened to. And unfortunately, a scaffold collapsed due to um, the causes of making it collapse and having it overloaded and no ties.
Hmm.
And my son was pretty much in the wrong place, the wrong time.
Mm. Yes, and the impact on that, this is a psychosocial safety summit, and physical safety is a big part of that as well. It's one of the hazards, poor physical environment, but not only for the individuals, but for, as we were chatting about earlier, the workers and the families. The psychological impact is felt and left for days, years,
Huge.
decades.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely huge. There was 250 workers on that site
Mm.
that day, and I can tell you now every single one of them has been affected in some way or another.
Yeah.
Some worse than others. Some have never gone back to work, and
Mm.
it's now 5.5 years on. The impact on family is beyond
Yes.
beyond describable, especially being a parent. Losing a child is one of the worst things in life. There is nothing I can really compare it to,
Yeah.
but to lose a child in those circumstances makes the whole situation so much worse.
Yeah.
And I don't want any other family to have to go through this, but unfortunately, we have too many deaths. The average of about every second day. someone dies at work somewhere in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
It's too many.
Way too many. Way too many. And you were sharing in our catch up prior to hitting the record button that you have done a lot of things and been a part of a lot of groups to help change the way and reduce that number. So you are the founder and director of the Touch by Christopher Foundation and Let's Talk About Safety project. Did you want to share just a little bit more about those if you
Sure.
haven't already, and maybe some of the other things that you're doing as well?
Yeah, so you've got Let's Talk About Safety is obviously my job. It's my full-time job, and that's what I do with going out to workplaces and speak about complacency and speaking up.
Mm-hmm.
The Touch by Christopher Foundation started a few months after my son died because I was so overwhelmed by so many people coming to my house and dropping off food, groceries, all, visits, like people coming. It was just beyond. I was just thinking, how do these people even know where I live? And, I assumed there probably would have been about 600 people that came to my household
Wow.
when Christopher died, leading up to his funeral. At his funeral, we had about 3,000 people attend. And, I said to my husband, I said, we have to give back. And so I started the Touch by Christopher Foundation, and now we raise money
Mm-hmm.
to help any other family who loses a loved one at work through a workplace incident. And we provide them with 3 months worth of groceries, give them a further $1,500 towards any bills they may have outstanding. So the groceries part of it is worked out on $20 per person per day who's left behind in that household,
Mm-hmm.
times 92, then $1,500. And now we've just recently added another $5,000 on top of that as well to cover any bills to do with mortgage or rent,
Yeah.
just to help them out so that they can grieve without the everyday burden.
Yeah. Which seems to be more pressing these days as well, with the cost of living
It is.
being increased. So having
And
something
that's
like
why we
that,
added that as well, because
yeah.
it's hard enough um, getting through life when you haven't had tragedies.
Mm,
Imagine when the breadwinner, because 97% of the people who die are the breadwinner,
yeah.
um, does not come home, and you're left behind with mortgages, mouths to feed, kids, and it's just too much, way too
Yeah.
much. And there is no help. There's no external help. There's no government help other than the work cover. So workers' compensation or the death benefit
Yeah.
that you get, but that doesn't come for many, many months after, because it has to go through all the processes of getting investigated too.
Yeah.
Um,
So what are you going to share at the summit? Can you give a little bit of a high level overview of what you're going to be chatting about?
I can tell you now, it won't be sugar-coated.
Yeah.
It definitely is not sugar-coated. My talk is quite hard-hitting.
Mhm.
So anyone who does tend to hear me speak, it stays with them for a very long time, because my aim is to burn into people's minds, because I need to shift mindset to be able to let them understand that we all have to go to work. It's not a choice. We don't make a choice to go to work. We all have to, because we've got bills to pay, and we want to make our lives and the lives of our family better.
Mhm.
And without going to work, that can't be possible.
Yeah.
So we need to stop risking life to get that job done. I also make people understand that when you're at work, you're just a number. It is just a job.
Yeah.
And if something happens to you, you simply get replaced. But there's no one at home that can ever replace you.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest message that I can bring forth, and part of my keynote, to be able to make people understand how precious life is,
Mm.
and, give them the courage to speak up when they're faced with an unsafe situation, and actually step away and say, no, I'm not doing this because I have a
Yeah.
family to go to.
I love that. And honestly, that is courage, not sugarcoating it. That is what I live and breathe. We are talking about things that are often swept under the rug, that aren't talked about, that people are too scared of, or they don't know how to start. So um, you being a part of the summit is such an incredible inclusion, and spot on with the vision, with the mission, with the need to change in so many areas. And it is sad that it has had to happen for you to do the incredible work that you do. But I know that the families who have received your support, and you being able to pay that forward, so grateful for that, and I am so grateful for your time. I know too that there will be people who are listening to this that want to reach out and get in touch with you and can't wait to the summit. So what's the best way for people to connect with you?
They can go on to the Let's Talk About Safety website, or they can email me on info@letstalkaboutsafety.com.au, or they can call me on my phone number, which is 0414 656 621. I'm the one that answers it, so you get to speak to me, and it's going through finding dates and stuff like that for me to be able to get there. And but as I said, it's a talk that every single worker needs to hear. So, and that's the best way to contact me, to be able to book me in.
Fantastic. And I will include all of those links and info in the notes below as well, so people can reach out, as well as your profile on the digital platform too, once that's live and ready. So
Amazing.
again, thank you so much, Patrizia. I really appreciate it and cannot wait to hear from you at the summit.
No, thank you for thinking of me and giving me the opportunity to share to all your attendees and your visitors. As I said, it's going to be one of those talks that probably will never be forgotten.
Great.
All
I
right.
love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nicole.